When I filled out the online application, I thought it was a joke. Total transformation, the reality makeover experience of a lifetime. The banner said, flashing with golden letters across my screen. They were looking for contestants, ready to rediscover themselves. At the time, I was anything but ready. My life was static. Gray days blending into sleepless nights, same routines, same fears, same reflection in the mirror that never quite felt like me. Still, something made me click apply. Maybe it was boredom. Maybe it was hope. Weeks passed, and I forgot about it, until one day, a letter arrived. Not an email, not a text, an actual letter, sealed with gold wax. It felt old-fashioned. Important. Congratulations, it read. You've been chosen for total transformation. Report to Studio 9 at midnight. Midnight? That should have been my first red flag. But curiosity has a way of silencing reason. Studio 9 wasn't like any building I'd ever seen. The moment I stepped inside, I felt the air shift, warmer, softer, almost humming. A receptionist with silver eyes smiled. Welcome, contestant number 7. Leave your old clothes there. You won't need them anymore. I laughed nervously. Is this part of the show? She only smiled wider. Everything is. She handed me a shimmering robe that seemed to ripple with colors I couldn't name. When I touched it, my fingertips tingled. I followed the golden-lit hallway until it opened into what looked like an enormous salon, but ethereal. Mirrors floated midair. Brushes danced by themselves. Perfume misted from invisible hands. And then, from the center, a voice, welcome. A figure emerged, tall, elegant, glowing faintly like moonlight. Their hair moved as though underwater. I'm Lysandra, they said. Head stylist. Here, we reveal what you've always hidden. I just thought this was a makeover show, I said weakly. Oh, it is, Lysandra purred. But makeovers aren't just for the body, they're for the soul. The floating mirrors surrounded me, forming a circle. Each one reflected me, but differently. One showed me smiling. Another showed me crying. A third showed me as someone else entirely. Softer. Brighter. Feminine. Wait, what is this? Possibility, Lysandra said, tracing her finger through the air. Every reflection is a version of you that wants to be seen. The air vibrated. My reflection blinked, then smiled back at me, even though I hadn't moved. I stumbled backward, heart racing. Relax, Lysandra whispered. We're only showing you the truth. A golden mist surrounded me. My skin shimmered, my hair lightened, flowing longer, silkier. My shape softened subtly, then more distinctly. My voice trembled when I spoke. I feel different. That's because for the first time, she said, you're not hiding. Lysandra beckoned to one of the mirrors. Look closely. When I did, the reflection didn't mimic me. It moved on its own, turning, posing, laughing. The figure wore clothes I'd never dare touch, a sleek dress that hugged every curve, heels that gleamed like liquid glass. That's not me, I whispered. It could be, Lysandra said. But you must choose it. I felt the pull, the impossible magnetism of the version staring back at me. Confident. Radiant. Free. But also terrifying. What if I can't go back? I asked. She smiled softly. Why would you want to? The air pulsed with light. I reached toward the mirror, and my fingers sank through it like water. Suddenly, warmth flooded through me. Light danced across my skin. My heart beat faster, louder, until I wasn't sure where the sound ended and I began. The room around me blurred into soft gold. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing where my reflection had been. The dress shimmered on my body. My hair framed my face in soft waves. My reflection now mirrored me. I didn't feel like I was pretending anymore. I felt whole. Transformation is never just a gift, Lysandra said. It's a test. You must step into the world outside these mirrors and decide who you truly are. The salon doors opened to reveal a bustling studio audience, cameras flashing, lights dazzling. My stomach dropped. They wanted me to walk out there. As this. Every instinct screamed to hide. But then I remembered the fear that had kept me invisible for so long. The reflection had given me something I didn't even know I craved: permission. So, I stepped forward. Gasps filled the room. The host blinked, clearly shocked by the transformation. But then applause erupted, warm, genuine, electric. And in that noise, something inside me finally cracked open. The fear dissolved. I smiled, not the nervous one I used to fake, but a real, effortless one that felt like sunlight. I didn't win the contest that night. But I didn't lose either. Because I'd found her. The version of me I'd spent my whole life avoiding. When I woke up the next morning, the lights, mirrors, and stylists were gone. Studio 9 looked abandoned, dusty. My reflection was still me, softer, yes, but human again. Had I dreamed it all? But then I noticed the robe, folded neatly on my bed. It still shimmered faintly with impossible color. And when I put it on, I saw her again, in the mirror. The confident smile. The gentle strength. The version of me who had finally learned not to hide. Sometimes I still wonder if Studio 9 was real. If Lysandra truly existed, or if she was just the part of me that finally decided to fight back. But every time I catch my reflection now, walking down the street, getting ready for work, meeting someone's eyes, I feel that same golden hum in my chest. Transformation isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were meant to be all along. And maybe that's what total transformation was really about, stepping through the mirror, so you can finally step into yourself. When I woke up, sunlight was bleeding through the blinds, warm and golden. Almost too golden, like the light itself remembered where it came from. For a moment, I didn't move. I just stared at my hands. They looked softer somehow, smoother. My nails, once bitten and uneven, now glimmered faintly pink. My breath caught. Slowly, I got out of bed and padded to the mirror. There she was. The same face from the night before, not as luminous, not as impossibly flawless, but unmistakably her. My hair, still longer than it had ever been, framed my cheeks. My skin looked clearer, my eyes brighter. I whispered to the empty room, it wasn't a dream. But then I noticed something. The robe from the salon, the one Lysandra had given me, was folded neatly on my chair, exactly where I didn't remember putting it. And it still shimmered faintly, as if light was trapped inside the fabric. A soft pulse went through me, like the room itself was holding its breath. I reached for my phone. Notifications buzzed like angry bees. Texts from friends, co-workers, even my mom. "MOM, you were on TV last night?" Ryan, "Dude, that couldn't have been you." Leah, "Wait, was that you on Total Transformation?" "OMG, you looked amazing." My stomach flipped. My hands shook as I scrolled through the hundreds of messages. Clips of me, walking down that runway, smiling in that dress, had already gone viral. Hashtag Studio 9 Mystery Girl was trending. I didn't go outside that day. I couldn't. The phone kept ringing. Reporters. Influencers. Even people from the show, except none of them could tell me where Studio 9 was. The emails from the production company were blank replies. The show's website? Gone. Deleted. Even the channel it aired on had scrubbed the footage. But everyone had seen it. Some people said it was CGI. Some swore it was an art project. Others said it was a hoax, that the transformation was just special effects. But I knew better. Because I could still feel her. Inside me. Every time I brushed my hair, every time I looked in the mirror, every time I caught my reflection in a shop window, she was there. That same confidence, that same quiet glow. And honestly, it scared me. The next evening, I stood in front of my closet. My usual clothes hung there, baggy jeans, dull shirts, old hoodies. But they didn't feel right anymore. They felt like costumes. I found myself reaching for the robe again. When I slipped it on, that same golden shimmer rippled across my skin. My breathing slowed. My heartbeat steadied. And then I heard it, faint but familiar, Lysandra's voice, like an echo through glass. Transformation is never over. It's simply waiting for your next choice. I froze. "Lysandra?" I whispered. No answer. But I swore I saw movement, a flicker, in the mirror. My reflection's lips curled into a smile a second before mine did. Okay, I breathed. Maybe I'm losing my mind. Yet, I didn't take the robe off. By the third day, I had to leave my apartment. Groceries don't buy themselves, and work was already asking questions. The moment I stepped outside, the world felt louder, brighter. Every color seemed to hum. People looked at me differently, though I couldn't tell if it was me or them that had changed. At the grocery store, a woman smiled at me. You look familiar. Were you on that transformation show? I froze. Maybe. Her eyes lit up. You were incredible. You looked so happy. I wish I had that kind of courage. I didn't know what to say. I just smiled back. Thanks. But when I walked away, her words echoed in my mind. Courage. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about what Lysandra had said. Why would you want to go back? Over the next few days, the changes became undeniable. My features continued to soften, subtly but steadily. My voice had a new lilting warmth. My movements felt lighter, more graceful without me trying. And emotionally, I felt freer. Like I was finally living a version of my life that fit. But that freedom came with fear. What if this wasn't supposed to happen? What if I couldn't stop it? What if the person I used to be was fading? Completely? One night, I dreamt I was back in Studio 9. The mirrors surrounded me again, but this time they were all dark, except one. Lysandra stood behind the glowing reflection, watching me with calm, knowing eyes. You think transformation is a loss, she said softly. But maybe it's remembrance. When I woke up, there were faint gold specks on my pillow. Like glitter. A week later, a letter appeared under my door. Same golden seal. Same embossed mark, Studio 9. Inside was a single line. You've completed your first reflection. The choice is yours, continue or return. And beneath that, a small silver key. I stared at it for hours. Continue or return. Return to what? To the gray, invisible life I had before? The one where I avoided mirrors and hid from my own feelings? Or continue into something I didn't understand? Something magical, maybe dangerous, but alive? I held the key tightly and whispered to myself, I'm not done yet. The key glimmered in my palm like it was alive. Silver, delicate, but humming faintly, as if whispering to me in a language only my reflection could understand. For hours, I sat staring at it, turning it under the light, trying to decide what it really meant to continue. But something in my chest already knew. So that night, I went back. It wasn't hard to find. I walked the same path as before, past the quiet alleyways, the neon-lit cafes, the street where the world seemed to bend just slightly out of logic. And there it was. Studio 9. Hidden behind a nondescript brick wall that hadn't been there yesterday. The golden door glowed faintly, like it was expecting me. My heart thudded. Okay, I whispered. Let's see where this goes. When I slipped the key into the lock, the air around me shivered. The sound of the key turning was soft, musical, like a chime underwater. And then, the door opened. It wasn't the same as before. The pristine salon chairs were gone. In their place stood long mirrors, each one tinted differently, one blue, one rose, one violet. A faint mist curled across the floor. Somewhere in the distance, I could hear faint laughter, soft music, whispers overlapping like old film reels. And then she appeared. Lysandra. Her hair shimmered like liquid copper, her gown flowing as if woven from moonlight. She looked at me with that same knowing smile. You came back, she said simply. Most people don't. I couldn't stop thinking about it, I admitted. About her. The person I was, when you changed me. She tilted her head. You think you were changed by me. But transformations are never gifts, my dear, they're permissions. I frowned. Permissions. She gestured to the 3 mirrors. Every reflection holds a truth you haven't faced yet. Choose carefully, each path deepens the self you've begun to remember. I stepped closer. The blue mirror rippled like water. I saw my old self, tired, quiet, small. standing behind a desk, answering emails, fading into the background of my own life. The rose mirror glowed warmly. In it, I saw her, the woman I'd become that night. Laughing, glowing, confident. The version of me I didn't think could exist. But the violet mirror. It pulsed faintly. It didn't show anything at first, only shifting light, shapes, and shadows. Then slowly, a face emerged. Mine, but different. Bolder. Balanced. Not one or the other. Both. I reached for the violet mirror without thinking. It rippled against my fingertips like silk. Lysandra's voice softened. Then you're ready. The moment I touched the glass, everything melted. Colors dripped from the ceiling. The world around me dissolved into flowing ribbons of sound and light. My heartbeat echoed in rhythm with the shimmer. And then came the sensations, soft, fluttering, electric. I felt my skin tighten, smooth glow. My posture shifted, more natural, more fluid. My body didn't feel different, it felt aligned. A calm spread through me. It wasn't like the first transformation. That one had been dazzling, shocking, unreal. This one felt like returning home after years of wandering. I looked at my reflection, the violet version of me, and for the first time, I didn't feel like an imposter. Who are you? I asked softly. Who you've always been, my reflection whispered. When the light faded, I was standing in the middle of the studio again. My clothes had changed, a sleek athletic jacket, form-fitting jeans, soft curls brushing my shoulders. Nothing extravagant. Just me. Lysandra smiled. Congratulations, she said. You found balance. The contest was never about winning. It was about remembering who you are beneath everything. She walked closer, her footsteps echoing softly. Now you choose. Keep the memory and forget the magic, or keep the magic and live the truth. I hesitated. What happens if I choose the second? Her eyes softened. Then you become what you've reflected, permanently. My breath caught. Permanently. No going back. No pretending. The mirror behind me shimmered once more, showing glimpses of my old apartment, my friends, my ordinary life, all waiting just beyond that door. But as I looked down at myself, the way I stood, breathed, smiled, I realized something. I'd never felt this real before. I choose the truth, I said quietly. The studio lights flared gold, and warmth enveloped me from head to toe. I closed my eyes, feeling everything, fear, release, freedom, colliding at once. When it faded, I was standing outside again. The golden door was gone. Only the key remained in my palm, dull now, no longer glowing. The world moved on like nothing had changed. But I had. The next morning, I went out wearing the same clothes from that night. Jeans, jacket, soft curls framing my face. And for the first time, I didn't care who stared. Every step felt like walking into sunlight. Every breath felt like mine. And when a stranger stopped me on the street and said, "Hey, weren't you on that makeover show?" I smiled. "Yeah," I said. "I guess I still am." When the cameras shut off for the final time, the studio lights dimmed, and the set of the reel you dissolved into quiet. I sat there, still in the shimmering gown they had dressed me in for the finale, my reflection glowing softly in the mirror. For a second I thought I saw it again, that faint ripple of light, the same glow that had flickered the night I first entered Studio 9. Only this time, it wasn't strange or frightening. It felt like a gentle nod from the universe. You did it. The producers came by one after another, hugging me, congratulating me on my transformation. But as their voices faded, I realized something. This hadn't been about makeup or wardrobe. The real transformation had happened inside. I walked out of the studio into the evening air, the city humming around me. Everything looked new, like the world itself had been polished, brighter, more alive. The breeze carried the faint scent of rain and street food, and I laughed softly because even that felt luxurious after weeks under studio lights. My phone buzzed. It was my sister. "Hey superstar," she teased. "You looked amazing on camera. But you know what? You looked like you again." Her words landed deep. For so long I'd been trying to meet expectations. At work, with friends, online. Always playing some version of myself that others would applaud. The show, strangely enough, had stripped all that away. Later that night, I stood before my mirror at home. No lights, no cameras, no stylists. I wiped away the makeup, layer by layer, and saw something I hadn't seen in years: peace. A calm, steady confidence that didn't depend on a costume or applause. Maybe that was the real magic of Studio 9. Not the illusions or mysterious mirrors, but the way it forced each of us to face our reflection until we finally recognized the person staring back. I whispered to my reflection, "I'm proud of you." And for once, the voice that answered in my head didn't argue. The next morning I went for a walk through the city, jeans, messy hair, coffee in hand. People passed without turning their heads, but I carried a quiet lightness, a secret knowledge that I didn't need a makeover to feel extraordinary. Because transformation isn't something the world gives you. It's what happens when you finally allow yourself to see who you already are.